Hi, welcome back. So today I want to talk to you about some ways to grow your garden or your landscaping for not a lot of money. If you've been watching the news like I have, inflation's on the rise, everything is costing a lot of money these days, and our money just isn't stretching as far as it used to. So that made me think, well, plants are probably going to be more expensive this year too. So here are some ways that we can grow our landscaping and create more beautiful gardens for not a lot of money. Tip number one, as soon as you buy a plant at the nursery or garden center, divide it right away. You're thinking, well, that's crazy. I just bought this plant. Why am I going to divide it? Well, here's why. When you look at these plants at the garden center, you're going to look at the bottom, and most of them will already have roots coming out of them. That means that that plant is probably already getting root bound. And root bound just means that the container that it's in has now become too small for the plant, where the roots start winding around the plant. Now, this gives you the perfect opportunity to divide that plant as soon as you buy it. Yes, the plant is going to be smaller and you're probably not going to like it as much, but you've now paid for one plant and you can divide that into 2, 3, 4, depending how large the container is. I only recommend this if you get a 1 gallon or larger plant can. I wouldn't do it with obviously a small 4-inch can. I've done this plenty of times. Last year, I actually bought a butterfly blue scabiosa at Lowe's, and I got home and I divided it right away. I was able to get 4 plant starts out of it. Yeah, that was smaller, but by the end of the season, well into the fall, that plant was still producing blooms like crazy, and all 4 of them had more than doubled in size from when I planted it. I also did this with the Ogon Gold Sweetgrass, no, Sweet Flag? Ogon Gold Sweet Flag. What's it called again? It's carex, a type of carex. I think it's called Ogon Sweet Flag, and it's like a gold variegated carex. And I had it might have been a 2-gallon container. I was able to divide that into like 10 plugs. I put them in little, pots with some fresh soil, and I have them sitting outside getting ready to be planted this spring. So a $12 plant gave me 20 starts. When you buy the plant at the nursery or garden center, you're going to bring it home. Before you divide it, you just want to let it sit in the shade for a day or two to acclimate to your yard. Give it some water and let it sit there. Once you're ready to get to dividing it, you want to just kind of study the plant, look inside all of the leaves, and see where the best point for division will be. Then you want to make some clean cuts and plant it right away. The planting hole should have some fresh compost or planting soil. You'll also want to add some slow release or startup fertilizer. Some examples of that can be Osmocote, Plant Tone, or Biotone. And then you water it in. And then just a few weeks, your plant is going to be really happy and producing blooms for you. Tip number 2, invest in perennials instead of annuals. Now, you're probably going to be tempted to buy annuals because annuals are beautiful and they bloom all season long, where perennials each have their time to shine. So basically, when you plant a perennial, there is different bloom times depending on the perennial. So it'll bloom for the season and then it'll go to sleep until next year. But the key about perennials is that you plant a perennial in your garden once and it comes back for you year after year. Where if you plant an annual, it's only going to produce blooms for you that season, and then it will die, and you have to replace annuals each year. So overall, if you're looking to stretch your money in terms of your garden, you certainly want to invest in your perennials instead of annuals. Now, how can you get some annual color without spending a lot of money? You can use seeds. Okay, so my favorite and the gateway seeds into annual flowers are cosmos, zinnias, and sunflowers. And something that I grew for the first time last year that I found also extremely easy to grow was alyssum. You can get these seeds at the Dollar Tree. Watch this. I've purchased the dollar store zinnias. They are 4 packs for $1. And yeah, you don't get as many seeds in here as you might in, say, another seed packet. But for $1, you're getting 4 packs of seeds. And these grow so well. My mom grows a ton of these. I've grown them successfully. And they just do so well. For the price, you can't beat it. And these will give you color all summer long for $1. I also bought Dollar Tree alyssum, and this is the one that I grew last year. I'll insert a photo, and it was so pretty. So I expect that it'll do the same for me this year, and I do plan on planting this again. Cosmos. Cosmos is another one that the Dollar Tree carries. They carry an orange type and the sensational kind, which is like a type of pink variety. So I would recommend, if you do want to add annuals to your garden to kind of fill in until your perennials, to fill in your gardens until your perennials take over, I would certainly recommend taking a trip over to the Dollar Tree, picking up some zinnia, some alyssum, cosmos, even some sunflowers, and planting those to fill in those gaps, and invest in perennial plants versus annuals. Tip number 3, plant divisions. Heading into spring, anybody who has friends, family, neighbors who are gardeners, they're going to be out there cleaning up their yards and dividing plants, perennials, that need to be divided. As a gardener, every few years, plants will get big, and that's an amazing blessing, because what you can do is you can divide them, and you can either add them to other areas of your garden where you need to have a plant to fill in, or you can share them with people. Gardeners love to share plants. We so much rather give plants to other gardeners who are going to care and nourish those plants than to throw them in the trash or the compost pile. And tip number 4, through plant sales and Facebook Marketplace. So plant sales. I actually belong to my local garden club. It's a group of gardeners who meet on a monthly basis, and we discuss gardening. And during the growing season, we're able to do fun things like go on garden tours. One of the activities that they used to have was on Memorial Day weekend each year, they used to hold a plant sale. This is actually how I became aware of the garden club. I would actually go to this plant sale, and I would be able to buy beautiful plants that were divisions from these gardeners' yards that they would bring to the plant sale to sell and fundraise. So I would walk out of there with a handful of plants, 5, 6, 7 plants, with maybe spending $20. So it was an amazing way to grow my garden and to buy established plants. And I know that other towns hold these plant sales also. When the spring warms up, towards the end of the spring typically, once the perennials start to emerge and people are able to divide them, you'll start seeing some announcements on Facebook about having plant sales, about different towns and different clubs holding these sales. And so these would be an amazing opportunity for you to attend a plant sale and to be able to bring home some perennials for not a lot of money. The other thing that you'll find on Facebook is groups for free plants. So there's one in my area called Jenny's Plant Stand, and it's really cool. This person is actually so kind and so giving of her time, because she sets up this table in the front of her yard, and each day it becomes a swap spot. So basically, gardeners who divide plants in their yard will go there and drop off plants, and she will have a table set out so that these swaps can take place. Then the person goes home and says, hey, I just dropped off a division or 2 of Rudbeckia or Black-Eyed Susan. Someone else will comment and say, I would like to take one. And so they put your name with a tag on this plant, and then at some point during that day or the next day, you go and pick up that plant. So it's similar to the Buy Nothing groups on Facebook, where someone has set up this page for the exchange of plant divisions, which is an amazing idea and another way that you can obtain perennials for free. And continuing with the Facebook Marketplace, as well as the pages that we just discussed, the other thing that you can find is people will post plants for sale or even for free. They'll post it under the general Marketplace pages. And I don't love Marketplace. If you've ever sold or bought anything on Marketplace, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a little bit tough, but it is a nice place to go and look for plants. You can go on Marketplace, you can just do a search, plants, perennials, and oftentimes you'll come up with either free, and they'll tell you, they'll ask you to DM them for the address, and you can go by and just pick up these plants, or they'll be selling them for really cheap. They'll sell a container for say $5, for example, and it's another great opportunity to pick up plants for either free or cheap. I'll actually tell you a quick story of how I was able to get some beautiful daylilies for nothing a couple of years ago. I'm a little cautious when it comes to Craigslist in any of these ways, any of these methods like Marketplace, etc. If you're going to meet anyone, obviously always use common sense and be careful and so forth. A couple of years ago, a friend of mine who is a gardener had messaged me. She sent me a text early in the morning on a Saturday. She said, hey, I found that this house and they need all of these daylilies dug up out of their yard this weekend. She's like, do you want to go and get some? And I said, sure, love a good gardening adventure. So we went off with our buckets and our shovels and our boots, and we went and we got these beautiful daylilies for free. Beautiful varieties that they had collected over a number of years. And they were having a new septic system installed where all of these daylilies were planted. So they needed them dug up. And we went and we were able to benefit from this. We got all these daylilies for nothing. So there are ways out there to get these beautiful flowers. You just have to be willing to do a little bit of work sometimes. Like in our case, we had to dig them up. Bonus tip, around the 4th of July, the box store garden centers will start marking things down. Now they've started to get a lot of this inventory in the spring, and by the time July comes around, they're having a hard time keeping everything watered and happy. So in order to clear out some of that inventory, they'll mark things down. So all of the deciduous shrubs and evergreen shrubs will go 50% off. I was able to get a purple smoke bush and some evergreen shrubs for 50% off last July. Lowe's will also have their perennial sale. So last year, the perennials were marked 3 for $10 during their sale. I'm anticipating that there'll be a little bit more this year because of everything being on the rise. So maybe there'll be 3 for $12. But nonetheless, it's a great opportunity for you to go in and buy some perennials for not a lot of money. I hope that this video gave you some ideas on how to grow your landscape for free or really inexpensively. We could all use a little bit extra money in our pockets these days, and having a beautiful garden doesn't mean you need to sacrifice a lot of money to do so. Thanks for watching. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.